All right, well, it's 5 after, so anybody that is coming in late now will unfortunately get the shortened version of the presentation. But for those of you that don't know me, my name is Andrew Burrows. I am the Interim Executive Director. We appreciate you coming out tonight and participating in our town hall. I'm going to introduce a couple of our luminaries here tonight. We have Commissioner Don Elliott and Commissioner Tripp Stevens. Appreciate them coming out and being here for our town hall meetings. We're going to talk about some of the good stuff we've got going on at Joint Water and Sewer. We'll talk about our budget and rates for next year and some more customer service efforts we've got moving forward. So again, we're going to talk about some projects we've either completed or still have ongoing on St. Simons on the mainland. We'll talk about our SPLOST projects, and we'll talk about the projects we have under design right now that aren't actually under construction. We'll talk about a business plan we completed at the end of last year, and then talk about next year moving forward. So on the island, we had 3 projects that we recently wrapped up that have garnered quite a bit of attention. We did some smoke testing on St. Simons Island. It is not actually smoke. That is a misnomer. It is an inert mist that we inject into the line. And anywhere that that mist comes out is a situation where water could actually get into our lines where it's not supposed to. So it's a cost-effective way to give an overall indication of how the system's functioning. Village area water improvements, that was a joint project with Glynn County on their storm drainage work. That's been in the paper quite a few times over the past few months. And then the Frederica and Colonial water main installation was right there at the entrance to CIP Palms across from Thrive. Here we got some pictures of the smoke testing, so you can kind of see it does look an awful lot like smoke coming out of the ground. On the left there you see a storm grate that the smoke is coming out of. That is actually on Ocean Boulevard right there in front of King and Prince. If you've ever been through there when it rains, you can imagine how much water is actually getting into our system as part of that. There are actually 6 of those storm inlets that are tied into our system. So we'll get those removed and it'll actually free up additional capacity in our system. That'll be a big help to us. And on the right there, the smoke that appears to be coming out of the bush, that is not the burning bush, but that's actually a storm pipe that's back there on St. Andrews. There's a tidal creek that comes in there, so we're not just getting water in our system during rain events there. Every time we hit high tide, it's pouring into the system. So we're literally draining the ocean. So we're going to get that taken care of, and again, that's going to free up additional capacity for us. Overall, the system was in pretty decent shape. We found a few items that need to be addressed. These are the 2 biggest items we found. But overall, it's not an insurmountable amount of work we've got to do, and we're ticking them off one by one. This is some pictures from the village water improvements that we've done down at the Pier Village. On the left, you'll see the pictures of our crews coming in at night and actually forming everything up above ground before we drop them into the system. And we do this work at night as much as possible to limit disruptions to the community. And on the right there, you'll see a picture of the contractor actually installing the pipe and kind of showing you the tight quarters we're working in down there. You can see that blue water line coming in, and there's a manhole right there beside it. So you can imagine how difficult it is to dig down with that much stuff going on at one time. So that's why that project drug on a little bit more than what anyone would have liked, but overall it was very successful for us. And here we have some pictures of the installation of the water main at Frederica and Colonial. Again, that's right there in front of Thrive at the entrance to CIP Palms. On the left, you see us again, our crews coming in at night, forming the pipe up on top of the ground, and then on the right, you see it going into the trench. So you can see how we had to cut through a lot of concrete there to get that pipe installed on Frederica. Naturally, that's not the type of roadway we want to be digging across in the middle of the day, so we came in about 1 o'clock in the morning to get that done. We actually had the 1-lane access open. Now, in this picture, it's not open because we had to drop the pipe in, but we kept some steel plates over the road so we can maintain 1 lane of access throughout the entire project. And we actually had everything covered backed up, and the whole road was opened up before the morning rush hour. So that was quite effective for us, and it's going to provide additional volume and pressure in the CIP Palms area. So here on the mainland, 3 projects we've got going on or have recently finished. We've got Academy Creek, which is a wastewater plant on Newcastle. We've got oxygen system rehab going on there. Friendly Express water main extension for the new Friendly Express that's at the corner of 303 and 341. And then the L Street water improvements, which is a joint project with the city of Brunswick for their SPLOST resurfacing project. Here we have some pictures of the Academy Creek project. We have a liquid oxygen treatment system there at that facility. We inject liquid oxygen into our tanks, and it helps treat the solids. So we had some issues with that system. The tanks that we had was leaking a little bit, and it was inefficient. We did not have great control over our feed there. We also had some safety improvements that needed to be made. So we brought in a new tank. That's a 13,000-gallon tank that was brought in, and if you went by the plant about 3 weeks ago, you may have seen that tank hanging out in the middle of Newcastle Street for quite a bit of time, because if you can see on the left there, we had 2 cranes and then a semi with a tank, and then we also had 2 other semis bringing the counterweights for the cranes in, and you can't really get 5 semis through one gate at the same time. So it hung out in the middle of 341 for about 45 minutes, but we finally got it in there. And on the right, you've got the tank actually installed, much cleaner look. We've got some automatic controls that help us feed the oxygen there, and that's going to help us reduce our cost. We're also making some safety improvements to make sure we don't have a combustible mixture in our tank, just because we're always looking out for the safety of our staff. That project should be wrapping up here in the next couple of weeks. These are some pictures from the Friendly Express water main extension. That was a cooperative project with the developer of that Friendly Express. They did not have water and sewer service available to their station right there, so they agreed to run the water and sewer from the existing connection point all the way to the corner of their property, and then we picked it up from there and actually took it across their property and under 303. So on the left is part of their installation of the water main coming right there in front of Heritage Christian, and on the right is a picture of a horizontal drilling rig that we use to actually install the water and sewer under 303. And that's going to be key for us, because we've never had water and sewer service under 303 on that west side of 341. So that'll allow us to potentially provide service to a lot of residential customers in that area that have some failing septic tanks, and we're completing a study right now to determine the most cost-effective way to do that. These are some pictures from the L Street project. Again, that is a joint project with the city. They're doing some resurfacing in there, and while they were in there tearing up the roads, we wanted to make sure we had our water lines replaced. We had some old transite and cast iron lines in that area that needed some attention. So when they had the road tore up, we went in, and you can see on the left the trench that was dug, and they were installing that PVC pipe going in there. And on the right, you can see the pipe being covered back up, and you see that black tubing. That's actually a new water service that's been installed and will be run to the house and connected to the meter, so they're getting all new water services out of this as well. So we don't want to go in and tear up new pavement, so anytime the city or the county are doing some paving projects, we try to take care of any asset needs we have in that area before they pave. So talk about some SPLOST projects. We were very fortunate to get 2 SPLOST projects as part of SPLOST 2016. We had the North Mainland Sewer Basin reroute, and then the Pump Station 4003 rehab and gravity improvements. The North Mainland Sewer Basin rehab was a 3-phase project. We've actually finished phase 1, and that was to provide immediate capacity relief to the Harry Driggers area. And as part of that phase 1, we were able to get the Tradewinds facility what's called grad certified. Now, Tradewinds is a piece of property just across the interstate there on Golden Isles Parkway. It's zoned industrial, and grad certified means that it stands for Georgia Ready for Accelerated Development. And what that means is we have plenty of capacity for somebody to come in with new industry, and we're able to take their flow and allow them to come in, and they don't have to make as much of an investment. So we're working hard with Ryan down at EDA, and hopefully they can bring in some new jobs for us in the near future. Phase 2 and 3 is actually to reroute the flow from Harry Driggers down Canal Road and underneath the canal and tie in on B&W grade. But phase 2 is to actually repair the gravity lines downstream of that to be able to take that additional flow. There's some old concrete lines in that area, and we're going to do that through a process that's called CIP Pee Rehab. That is cured in place piping. So basically on the left, you see that thing that looks like a big sock. That is drug into the lines, and that's impregnated with a resin that we then inject hot water in. It expands out and presses up against the inside of the existing pipe, and we get a brand new plastic pipe in the old concrete pipe. So we're going to do that to a lot of large diameter lines south of B&W Grade Road all the way back to the Academy Creek plant. That picture from the left was recently done because the pipe decided to fail before we could get out there. So we may have heard about the problems on Whitlock Street a few weeks ago, but then we're going to be doing that to all those pipes in that area. Phase 3 is to actually upgrade some pump stations and install a new force main to turn the flow that direction. So there it is, the internals to pump station 4036, which is on the edge of the canal at B&W Grade Road. So we'll be ripping all those internals out, new pumps, new piping, new valves, everything to provide a lot of capacity in that area and up in the Harry Driggers area. We expect to have capacity for up to 20 years at their current growth rates. The other SPLOST project we have is here in the city of Brunswick. We have the Pump Station 4003 rehab and gravity improvements. On the right, you see a picture of Pump Station 4003. That looks a little different than most of our stations because there's a huge brick building there. Most of our stations don't have that, but back in the 60s when these were put in, that was the standard procedure. That's on the corner of Newcastle and K Street. So on the right, you'll see the picture with the concrete structure outside. That's the existing wet well structure, and a wet well is exactly what it sounds like. It holds water until we can pump it out. So that wet well is very oddly shaped. On the left, you'll see that picture there with the engineered drawing. That's the floor of the wet well, and you can see it kind of has about 5 different levels going on in there. That's not the way they're normally built, but back when this was built, there was a bar screen there, and it had to be done to allow that bar screen to be entered. So we have to get more capacity in that wet well, so we're looking for some creative ways to try to expand that wet well availability there. We'll also work on the gravity line out in K Street, and that will allow the water to get to the station more quickly and not bottleneck in K Street and hold up there during a rain event. Currently under design, we have 4 projects that I would like to point out. We have a major plant rehab project at Academy Creek that the engineering was recently awarded for. I'm not going to go into any detail with that because we only have 2 hours and I can talk about wastewater plants for about 3 days. Pump Station 4021 is on Altama Avenue between Sonic and Coastal Appliances. It takes all the flow up the Altama corridor past Target where the new school's going in and everything like that. That pump station is currently deemed over capacity. So we're going in and replacing the pumps with some larger pumps and doing some piping upgrades there to provide additional capacity for residential and commercial development up in that Altama corridor. So that should be going out for bid here in the next couple of months. The Ridgewood Water Production Facility is up in the North Mainland area. There's an existing fire well. A fire well means we have the ability to pump water, but we don't have the ability to treat water there. So if in a fire, we will turn that well on to provide additional water capacity. What we're going to do is take that facility and actually turn it into a production facility. So we're going to add the treatment capacity there. So new aerators, new chlorinators, and then the ability to inject some phosphates into the line for corrosion inhibitor. And then the village area water improvements, phase 2, is the second phase of the Glynn County Storm Improvement Project in the Pierre Village area. This is back in the Lord and Butler Avenue area, so out of the commercial district there, so hopefully it'll go a little smoother, but that is currently under design. At the end of last year, we presented to our commission our strategic business plan that outlines the priorities for us for this year, and it also introduced some core values that we expect from every one of our employees every day. We grouped the strategic business plan into 5 key concepts, and I'm not going to go through all 5 of them. I'm going to point out 3 of them here: responsible decision making, being a community resource, and customer service. Now, responsible decision making sounds like something we should have been doing for a long time, but we're putting particular emphasis on making sure we're being very responsible and pragmatic about how we're spending your money to make sure that where we're spending money is having the greatest impact on the system. We're doing that through what's called asset management. So we're going through and scoring every asset that we own to determine which ones have the biggest impact on the system and are in the worst shape so we can identify those for repair. Being a community resource is something we're putting a lot of emphasis on because we understand that Glynn County and the city of Brunswick cannot thrive unless we thrive. So we're trying to make sure that we're being aligned with what the city and the county want to do to make sure we're available for whatever they need us for and for whatever the development community needs us for. And then customer service is something we're putting a lot of emphasis on. We'll go into a great bit more detail on that later, but we've had some issues with our customer service at times, and we're trying to improve that, and we're putting a lot of emphasis on that, and we're really making some progress in that area. So our core values for all of our employees, we have 6 of them. Again, I'm going to point out 3 of them. You see number 1 on our core value is we expect every employee that we have to be customer focused. Whether you work at a wastewater plant, on a water distribution crew, or there at the main office, you will run into customers on either at your job or out in the community, and we expect every one of our employees to maintain that focus on the customer and providing solutions for what they want to do and making sure that we're pleasing them with our service. Down there on value and invest in employees, that's twofold. One, we want to value our employees and invest in them by providing adequate training and targeted training to the things they actually do all day long. We have a lot of licensed employees that have to have a certain number of continuing education hours. We're trying to make sure that those hours are being used on training that's actually going to provide them value in their day-to-day work. But we're also going to value them because if you're on social media, you may have seen a lot of the videos that we've been putting out. And what we're doing is we're making sure throughout the year we're putting out 1 a week, and every employee of the Joint Water and Sewer is going to be in one of those videos before the end of the year, or at least that's the goal. Now, that's a lot of effort we're putting in there, but we're doing some good public education, providing some information about what we do, but also we're providing some spotlight for our employees there, and they get to feel like a movie star for at least a week there, and they like the attention and stuff, so it's a good program we've got going on there. And the last one is to have a positive can-do engagement. Now, We understand that every day at the Joint Water and Sewer Commission is not sunshine and rainbows. Clearly it's raining today. But we want to have a positive attitude. We want to make sure that we're looking for ways to help people out and come in generally with a smile on our face. And the key point there is having a can-do engagement. We have got the reputation for looking for ways to say no. We're trying to change that to make sure that we're looking for ways to say yes, because ultimately we're here to support the community. So we want all of our employees looking for ways to say yes instead of looking for ways to say no, and that comes from that positive can-do engagement. So moving forward into next year, I'm going to hit on 5 topics really quickly. We've got the 2020 budget, which starts July 1st, some customer service efforts that I was speaking about earlier, the customer assistance program, which is more in the customer service area, some upcoming projects you may see in the next 6 to 9 months, and then a particular project that I enjoy is the new capacity maps. So next year's budget, which again starts July 1, overall budget figure $33.2 million. It's a good, healthy budget for us to get the stuff we need done, but I'd like to point out that we're getting that budget with no rate adjustments. So your bill will not change from what you had for the last 12 months unless your usage changes. So all in all, we were able to increase our budget slightly with no rate adjustments, and we were also able to increase our capital budget to $6.5 million. Our capital budget is where we spend money for projects out of, and projects are where we can make the greatest impact on the most people with our spending. 3 or 4 years ago, that money was $3 million a year. We're at $6.5 million a year now, and we did that without a rate increase. And the only way to get that money up without having a rate increase is to save money in operations every single day. So that's a benefit that we're getting from as efficiencies we're getting, and that $6.5 million is going to be put to good use in targeted areas where we're going to have a huge impact. And I also want to point out, we have an overall staff count next year of 162. This year, we have 164 positions. So we've actually reduced our staffing by 2. We consolidated a couple of positions, and we're getting 2 functions that are going to help us save even more money in our operating functions. That is with the introduction of a maintenance planner. They'll be working with all of our groups to include maintenance scheduling and planning so that we can utilize our resources better, and they'll be able to focus their attention in that area. And we're also going to hire an asset management coordinator. Talked about asset management a few times tonight, but basically we're going to hire somebody that's going to be able to spend 8 hours a day focusing on going through our assets and providing the scores necessary so that we can actually spend the money where it's most needed. So they're going to work with the staff on making sure they're inputting stuff in the system correctly, and they'll be leading some teams we have currently ongoing for going through our system and scoring it. So let's talk about some of our customer service efforts. Many of you know for years we did not have a consistent cutoff program, and because there was basically no penalty for having not paid your water bill, some folks decided not to pay their water bill. Well, then we started having a very strict cutoff policy, and somebody would come in and we'd tell them they owed us $6,000 or $8,000 to have their water turned back on, which is really not practical that anybody's going to have $8,000 to pay their water bill off. Well, so we started in an attempt to help them out, payment plans, which allowed them to pay them off over 24, 48 months, a little bit each month, but each month they're getting a 1.5% late fee charged to their account. Well, if you owe us $6,000 or $7,000, 1.5% could be over $100 a month in late fees that you're getting. Your water bill might only be $35 a month, but you're paying us $135 including late fees. So you really can't make any progress on that debt that you owe us. So starting July 1, if you're on an active payment plan, there will be no additional late fees added to your account. So you won't get that $100 a month added to your account. So when you make a payment, it'll actually go towards paying your debt off instead of just paying accrued late fees off. And then to go one step further, if we understand that people are trying their best to pay their bills off. And if you're making a good faith effort to pay your balance off to us, and we're going to define that as paying as agreed for 6 consecutive months, starting July 1st, if you've paid 6 months in a row before then and currently up to July 1, or starting July 1st, you pay 6 consecutive months, come in if you're on a payment plan and we'll actually write off the accrued late fees that you've gotten since the beginning of joint water and sewer or the last time you had a 0 balance. We understand that when you get a water bill that says it's $8,000, it seems like you're in this hole you're never going to get out of. Well, since we were unfortunately part of the problem that caused the hole, we want to help you get out of it. So if you're making that good faith effort, we'll write it off. And for some folks, they're going to get a substantial amount of money written off. So they'll come in 1 month and they're getting $100 worth of late fees. And all told, they may have a $500, $1,000 worth of late fees on their account. Well, they've been paying for 6 months and they're paying their $150 a month or whatever. Well, next month when they pay their $150, that other $100 will go to paying their debt off, and they won't have the $1,000 worth of late fees that's on there already. So it'll be a big impact to what they see on their bill each month. Now, we understand that there's some folks that are trying their best to make their payments, and financially they just can't do it. So we've started a customer assistance program to help some folks out there that are in severe need. So we'll go through how can you give, how can you get, and when do we start? So you can give to the customer assistance program through a simple form on the website, or we have a form available in our lobby, and we have some of them here tonight if you're interested in signing up. But there's 3 ways you can give. You can do a roundup program, where basically we round up the loose change at the end of your bill each month, and that goes into the account to help folks. You can do a monthly pledge. Say you want to add $5 a month to your bill. Sign up for that, and each month we'll add $5 to your bill, and there'll be a little line item that says customer assistance donation. And that'll be on there every month until you tell us to take it off, and that $5 will go into that account. Or you can do a one-time donation. Let's say you don't want to give us $5 a month, you just like to give us $20 one time, we can take it that way, and we'll add that to the account. Now, how can you get? We want to make sure that the program is helping those with the greatest need. I also want to point out the Joint Water and Sewer has absolutely nothing to do with this money. We do not hold this money. We just take it and put it into account, which will be administered by Coastal Georgia Community Action Authority. What they'll do is if you qualify and you go through their process, they'll provide a voucher to you to come back to us and say, hey, they qualify for assistance, and then they'll transfer money out of that account to that customer's account with Joint Water and Sewer, and we have nothing to do with it. We don't decide who gets it. We don't decide how much they get or anything like that. So there's a set of criteria very similar to what Georgia Power does with their customer assistance program based off socioeconomic qualities and things like that to see who qualifies. So if you're on an existing payment plan and have a high balance, we're going to send you a letter because most likely you're going to qualify because you may owe us a whole lot of money. So you'll get a letter if we know you qualify, or if you come into the office one day and your water's been shut off and you just honestly can't make your payments and you meet the qualifications, we'll extend this program to those at that point. But again, we're going to make sure that the money goes to the people that need it the most first. So how are we going to get the word out about this? The program officially went live last Friday, so we are actively taking donations now. We're going to start giving money out on July 1st, and that was intentional so that we had a little bit of time for the money to actually accrue, because we didn't want to start taking donations on Friday. The duck really wants to be part of this. We didn't want to start taking donations on Friday, and then Friday morning somebody come in asking for money and there's nothing in the account. So we're taking a few weeks to get some money added in there, but to help get the word out, there'll be a little note on your bill that says, hey, if you'd like to donate, please visit the website and the /donations on there at the end of our website account, and you can get to it that way. We're going to run ads on the radio and the newspaper, both the Brunswick News and the Islander, to try to get the word out. And then we send out a quarterly newsletter with our bill. And in the newsletter in July, there'll be a feature story on how you can donate to the program. Because this program is going to be entirely based off the generosity of the community. So the more money the community gives, the quicker we can help people out. And in all, the community can move forward from this. So some upcoming projects you may see in the next 6 to 9 months. CIP Pee Rehab. Remember, CIP is where we put the sock in the line and make the new pipe inside the old pipe. There's some existing clay lines in the CPOMS area that are in poor repair, and there's been quite a lot of sinkholes in that area, and the county's been wanting to pave it for a while, and they won't pave it because they don't want their new asphalt to fall into a sinkhole. So we're going to go in and line those lines to make sure that doesn't happen so they can move on with their paving project. We got some SPLOST 5 money transferred from the county earmarked for this, so that should be going out for bid in the next month or so. System-wide manhole rehab. Now, that does not mean we're going to rehab every manhole in the system. That just means we're picking specific ones throughout the entire area to be rehabbed. I think there's 60 of them. So we'll come in and spray a liner inside of those that'll keep water out and provide a little structure for some of these older manholes so they don't fall in. The mainland smoke testing. We're going to move our road show from over there on the island to the mainland to smoke test some basins here. We looked at our pumping stations and saw which ones were running higher in rain events. So we're going to smoke test those basins. So if you're on the mainland, you'll get to see the smoke coming out of your lines as well. So it's kind of interesting to watch, but there'll be door hangers put out to let you know when they're testing in your area and things of that nature. But we're hoping to get the same amount of effectiveness over here as we did on the island. It's a very cost-effective way for us to examine our system and let us know what kind of shape it's in. And then also some Altama Avenue CIPP work. We have some gravity lines that go underneath Altama Avenue. And again, since we can do this without actually digging, we really don't want to dig up Altama Avenue if we don't have to. So we're going to try to run the liner in some of those lines underneath Altama, as well as some of them that run parallel to Altama while we're in the area. So some new capacity maps. This is something I'm particularly keen on. for the last few years, you've probably heard a lot about how our capacity's kind of been all over the place. And one of the things we've also been told is we don't give consistent information about where the capacity is at. So the way to rectify that is we're actually going through our billing system now and tying individual water meters to sewer basins. Now, it sounds like a very easy process, but we have 30,000 water meters and they all have to be done individually. So we're making progress on that. We're about halfway through that now, but we'll know exactly which customers go to which sewer basins so we know how much of an allotment to keep open for them. And then we'll use the design point for the lift station. Let's say the lift station is supposed to be able to pump 250 gallons a minute and it's only running 200 gallons a minute. It is not the customer's fault that 50 gallons a minute is not available. You should expect us to provide you with 250 gallons a minute of service. So we're going to use that design number. So we know exactly who's tied on, we know what it's supposed to be doing, and if it's not doing that, we'll get it fixed to make it do that. And it'll be that's a real easy calculation to see if there's any capacity available. So we'll do the simple stoplight, green, yellow, red. It'll be available online. Green means, come on, we're open for business in this area. Yellow means if you're trying to put in a 200-lot subdivision, you should probably stop by first. And if red, we don't have any available capacity there, but I assure you it's on a list to get done. Now, a few years ago, when we put these maps out, there was red in a whole lot of areas. But right now, we've made tremendous progress in the past few years, and there's very few stations that are still deemed under capacity, and many of them are actively being worked on or in existing neighborhoods where there's 1 or 2 vacant lots where it just doesn't make any sense to invest money because there's not going to be anybody else tie onto those lift stations. So with that, I'll open it up for questions. We have a variety of staff members here that are subject matter experts and can answer a lot of questions for you, but my name's Andrew Burrows. There's my phone number. That's the phone number for the main office. I'm rarely in my office. I'm out and about all the time. So if you need me, I would suggest the email because I'll get back to you a lot quicker that way. But with that, I'll take any questions anybody might have.
And I will ask if you would please to reach out for the mic because we have more folks watching on our Facebook page. We're live streaming this now. So there are more people watching online than we have here. And it just so happens this is about the same level of rain we had last year that kept people away, so I apologize that we couldn't control the weather.
We're going to find a date next year where it don't rain on these.
So any questions, anybody? Yes, sir.
So how many sewer basins do you have in the system?
We have 163 sewer basins system-wide, about 50 on the island, 80 or 90 here on the mainland, and the balance in the South Mainland area. So we have 163 sewer basins. I don't know the official number because we're still going through that count, but there's probably less than a dozen now that don't have available capacity. And again, a lot of those are in residential areas that have been built out for years, and there's just 1 or 2 vacant lots there. So we don't really have a whole lot of problems with the capacity anymore.
So does each basin have its own pump station?
Yes.
That's how that defines
That's how
it?
we identify what a basin is. It comes into the same pump station. Yes, sir.
Do you have any forecasts on what you're going to ask for the next SPLOST?
Yes, we actually did present that to our commission a couple of weeks ago at our facilities committee meeting. You come up with a wish list, and then as you go through the process, it'll be pared down and changed some. Our first priority is to work with the city and the county for any cooperative projects they have, because if they're going to be in there doing something, we don't want to disturb the residents another time to do our project, so we're trying to coordinate with them. Since we don't have that list yet, we came up with our own list, and hopefully they'll want to coordinate with us on some of them. So there was 4 major water rehab projects. There was 4 neighborhoods on the mainland there. It was Fairway Oaks, Waverly Pines, Beverly Shores, and College Park. They've got some older lines in a lot of those neighborhoods. They've got some leaking pipes and also had a lot of boil water advisories in those areas because of pipe failures. So we want to prioritize getting those replaced with some newer plastic pipes that'll be around for 100 years. We're looking at some sewer rehab stuff, most of it being that trenchless CIP stuff. We go through and televise all of our lines. We stick a camera on a robot and run it through the line and see what the inside of the line looks like. And then it gets a score 1 to 5, 5 being it's in really bad shape and 1 being there's nothing wrong with it. So we went through all of the lines we've got televised and picked all the ones that are 4s and 5s, and I threw it on a list, and we're hoping to get a project to get all of those pipes lined. So that's a lot of pipe, but it'll be a tremendous amount of work and help to our system. It's about 100,000 linear feet of pipe. We're also looking for some backup pumps at some lift stations. If you were here during the storms, backup power, backup pumping was somewhat of a hot topic there for a while. So we've looked at some of our major stations that more than one station pumped to, so they're holding up stuff upstream, or maybe the one by the hospital, because the hospital's got to stay open, to put some bypass pumps there permanently. So we're looking to buy some of those things, and also some odor control at some pump stations. We got some areas of town where you don't really want to go by sometimes with the windows rolled down, so we're going to try to put some odor control on those stations in those areas as well. We're also looking for a couple of other expansion type projects. We're looking for potentially an elevated storage tank at exit 42. There's a Tradewinds area that runs from exit 38 to 42, but also right there, there's some potential development at the exit, and that's one of the last unserved exits in the area. So looking at an elevated storage tank there. And then there's 3 areas of town we're potentially looking at to do expansion to provide water and sewer service. This is the Ellis Point area to the west of 341 and north of 303. The area between 341 and Old Jessup north of community, and the Arco community. Some areas there that, as we built the system out, never got tied on, so we're looking potentially to get those customers brought on. Again, we're getting a study completed now. It's due this week or next week, so we'll have some better figures on that, and if it's cost effective, it may be something we look at.
What is the timeline on L Street, and is it on schedule?
The L Street project is on schedule. We're making progress there. Now, it's a joint project with the city and Joint Water and Sewer. And the city is the actual repository of the entire contract, and it's a 365-day contract. Now, we don't expect the water to take 365 days, but they're going in now and putting that water line in. They're going to come back and resurface and do the curb and gutter and everything. So we're hoping the water lines are in within 6 months, and then the latter half will just be the paving and the curb and gutter.
Any questions over here? You have a question? Anybody? David Cox online asks, Sandalwood Subdivision has small potholes and sinkholes that seem pretty uniform down the middle of the roads. Is this because of water or sewer lines? And if yes, what can be done?
Well, I can't say for sure if that is because of water or sewer lines. It's possible. We have recently done a great deal of work on the water lines in Sandalwood. We went in and replaced a lot of services in that area. We had some older galvanized lines that needed replacing there, and we did an in-house project to knock those out. We can get somebody out, take a look at those potholes that you've got out there to see if there's something that with our system, either water or sewer. If there's leaks in the water system, it could cause it, but we'll also can camera the TV lines, the sewer lines in there to see if it's weeping the soil in there. So we can get somebody out on that pretty quickly.
Had we, asking for myself, had we made plans to pave through there, or was it to remain patched the way that we left it? Was there
we did not have any
county?
plans to resurface the entire area.
Okay.
If we made cuts, we'll come in and go a couple of feet outside where we cut and patch it, but we did not make plans to repave the entire area, no.
Thank you. No other questions online yet.
Well, sometimes you have the Jeopardy theme, sometimes you have animals. We'd like to thank Commissioner Stevens for being on animal control tonight.
So Andrew, can you explain the North Mainland up by the recreation area? There's a lift station there, right? And that was part of, I think, your phase 1.
Yes, sir.
I saw you guys in there a lot, and then you were done, and then you came back in. I'm just curious what was going on.
Well, that pump station was deemed under capacity for the area. There's a lot of residential development in that area and a lot of platted lots that we didn't have capacity for. So what we did is we came in and rehabbed and put bigger pumps in the station and redid some of the internal piping. We added a permanent bypass pump there and redid a lot of the electrical stuff. So we came in and actually expanded the site to allow room for the bypass pump to go in. And then we've since go back all the time to do our basic maintenance. We're there at least once a week doing maintenance. So the major project there is done. As part of phase 3, we'll be working on the actual line that pumps into. So we'll be working down the side of Driggers, but not actually at the station.
I believe that's Tillman Avenue. The road has been resurfaced, but when you go around the sinkhole, it's high, so you dip down and you burst in tires. So we all please look at that.
Yes, ma'am. I believe
tires.
I believe that the city's already called us on that one because that patch has failed a little bit.
Avenue, it just go deep and then come back up.
So yes, ma'am. We'll certainly take a look at that one. We're here till 8, so all you got.
One more. So what side of Driggers does that line run down? Do you know?
Well, the existing line runs down the side of Driggers where the actual recreation facility is and actually pumps down 17. We're going to put it down the other side of the road, come underneath Driggers and come down on the west side of Driggers and the west side of Canal Road where they're doing the new roundabout and everything like that. So we'll be going in that big grassy area out there, so we won't be really disturbing the roadway at all. We like putting stuff in grass. It's easier to do that than asphalt.
Yes, ma'am.
We had a lady, well, the next door house has a fire hydrant, and some lady that was there cleaning must not have known it was there and backed up and hit it. And you guys came out and worked all day and late into the day, and it was a Sunday. And they couldn't turn it off, the valves didn't work anymore, all that kind of stuff. But they did a great job, and they cleaned up afterwards, and I was pretty impressed on how hard they worked and how dirty they got.
Now, we don't have any members of that crew here, but I don't think any one of them's ever went home clean. I think they consider it a bit of pride to go home with water and mud all over them, but certainly glad that we were able to get it worked on. And we have a hard-working crew, and they're out there every day trying to do good work for everybody. Anybody else here or online?
No, sir, not online yet.
All right. We'll be here for a little while. Like I said, we'll be here to 8 if anybody's interested in still coming by. If you're out in the community and want to come by, or if you got any additional questions you just don't really want to ask in a public forum, we'll be here to answer them. But with that, thank you all for coming, and we're looking forward to serving you in the next year.